Really good to see everybody here tonight. And, you know, I am amazed at the unity that I feel in this room through one man's life to bring a whole community together. And tonight, this is really tough on me as it is on you, and so I'm going to try to make it through this. I don't even know what we're doing here, except that we're here to celebrate a life, and we're here to love each other the way James loved us. He was always a guy that just loved everybody that came through the door, and so I really feel like tonight that there's a lot of you here tonight that we need each other, and really that's what makes us all work, is that we need each other and we love one another. And I was looking at the scriptures earlier today. Could you pull that back up, because I messed it up? And it says, let not your hearts be troubled. Believe in God, believe also in me. And then it says, in my Father's house are many mansions. And I can't even imagine what James's mansion looks like. It probably stands out for sure. Chargers colors. They're probably trying to get him out of their street right now. And I would have told you, I go to prepare a place for you, and if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come again and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also. And so what happened this last week is God came to receive James to himself and left a big hole here for you and me and everyone in this room to fill. And so we're going to just spend some time here together tonight and just love each other and support each other and make sure that nobody falls through the cracks, make sure that nobody uses this for an excuse to go out and get loaded or go do something crazy, because James wanted us to carry on and defeat drug addiction and to carry the message of hope and strength to those we come in contact with. And so on behalf of everybody here, I want to thank everybody for showing up. This is amazing. And we're going to have a celebration of life. It's actually his homegoing party. And that'll be a party on 7-Eleven with free Slurpees. No Slurpees? Okay. But guys, let's just celebrate tonight. And I don't know, maybe there's some of you that we don't want to go all night, but maybe there's some of you that want to share something. We're gonna light some candles up here, and then later on at the end of the service, what I want to do is I want to lower all the lights in the room, and I want every person that, does everybody have a candle, one of those fake candles? Everybody all have a candle? Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to have one person stand on the end, and then we're going to each stand, and we're just going to signify the fact that one person's light, how it lights the rest, and how the impact that you can make on everybody that you come in contact with, the way that James did. And he was an incredible friend and brother to me. And I think back of this last summer when I had him help me baptize people at the camp out. And he kept saying, well, you know, this guy needs to be held on a little longer, Bill. I know this guy. And I said, James, that's not the way we do it. So if you're one of those victims that he tried to pull your feet out from under you and hold you under longer, that wasn't me. I was just, but he always had that sense of humor. He always wanted you to feel like you were the most important person in the room, and that's what I loved about James. We went head to head on a few things too, but I think who hasn't in this room? And but that's what made James James. And so tonight we're just going to celebrate his life, and maybe there'd be some of you that would want to just share something. I would really like it if you would come up front to share with a microphone, because we are taping this. And so this is being taped for the family, and so we have some cameras going. And so if there'd be some that would want to come, maybe you could just come and sit up here and try to keep it brief. We don't have the buzzer like in the meetings, but if you could just keep it brief. So come sit up here, and then maybe you'd want to come and share. Do we have an icebreaker? If you could come over right about, I think you need to be right about here to get on film.
Hello, family. Can you hear me? So, James was my roommate, and he was a strange individual. But you know, I'm glad that I had the time with him that I did, the little bit that I did, because I got to know his character and I got to know his heart. And you know, there really isn't a person like James. He was strong in his convictions. He loved the Lord very much, and he was all about service to this community that we have, and I admire that about him so much. And going forward, there's a lot of lessons that I'm going to learn from his passing, but I was really distraught because it hit home, literally, you know, being his roommate. But someone told me that in the flesh, we're selfish right now because we weren't finished with James on this earth. And also a little bit we're jealous because he got to meet God before us. He's in heaven now and we're still here. But in the spirit, it's a time of rejoicing and happiness, because this is all James wanted. For the last 4 years and 9 months of his life, he worked for this moment to be able to meet his Creator and meet him on good terms and have his Father tell him how proud he is of him. And, you know, I was fortunate to know him. And thank you guys for listening.
I'm Dave, and I'm an alcoholic and addict. I know we're supposed to do that here, but... Hi, Cindy. Is this thing even working?
Yeah. Put it close.
You know, James is one of the first persons that actually took me into a treatment center to pass the word. And I feel right now about as nervous as I was with the first time I went to a treatment center with him. Speaking for my first time. You know, I don't know. James was just that guy. I mean, he had pissed off people. He made people love him. And, you know, I always just kind of stood in the middle because, I don't know, man. James, I mean, he just had these things about him. You know, he had that strong love for people, but he also had that personality that he didn't care if you know, told you what he thought on his mind, you know. You know, he was, I've only been in recovery now for a little while, and he was one of the first ones that came up and shook my hand and said, hey, welcome, you know. He helped me go through treatment centers and start speaking at them, the Courage group. I was part of one of the first groups that actually got to start going into Lifeline to speak actually the Word of God, you know. That was pretty huge, you know, being able to be a part of the first Christian group that actually got to go in there and speak and pass the word, you know, of recovery and also of the Word of God. He always told me, you know, don't write anything down, just speak from the heart. And right now, you know, I don't know what even to say, you know. I miss my friend. He obviously impacted a lot of lives.
Hi, I'm Tony. I'm an addict. Oh, my God. You know, this is hard for me because I work with James as well as in the rooms, you know. And it's real hard because I go see him at lunch and, you know, he helps me through stuff a lot of times, you know. I just don't know. All I can say is I love you, man. He showed me a lot. That's all I can say. I'm pretty much lost for words. Thanks, everybody.
So I also work with James. I had the absolute pleasure for the past almost 3 years to be his supervisor. I wrote several professional letters of recommendation for him, which I was so happy to do, and I always gave him a very glowing recommendation as my source of constant enthusiasm and positivity. And I got to spend several hours with him yesterday that I'll never forget. He looked at me and said something at one point that I'll never forget and I'll cherish as my parting gift from him. I'm sure this is probably familiar to all of you, but you know, he would tell me all the time. I'd go and see him at work, and I would grumble and moan about the place where we worked sometimes. But he would always remind me that we got to be there, we got to pay our bills, we got to have relationships with people there at work. And I know there's so many of you out there now that are repeating that same mantra, and it fills my heart to see the way he impacted all of you. I feel so blessed that by circumstance I happen to work with him, and I love him so much. I spent several hours this morning drawing this same picture that happens to be here, and I just told him all morning, we love you, James. So I'm happy to see that reflected here as well. I love all of you, and I hope you all feel strong in your connection to one another, and I know that I feel James's light even greater now than I ever did before.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Michael. It's good to see everybody here. I too worked with James. He was kind of a stand-in QC in my department. Apparently there's a few of us in here that like to make gummy vitamins, so we thank you for eating them. I start with the process at where I work. We hand weigh everything, and occasionally James would come down and fill in for our QC. And when I first met him, I really didn't know how to take him. You know, he was a different, unique individual, and it's the bald head thing, and, you know, I was just like, oh, what's this guy's angle, you know? And we'd be in the blend room and powder flying all over, and he'd start cracking these little antidotes and things, and you're just like going, all right, well, hey, that's pretty cool, you know? And James was a really, really down-to-earth guy. I arrived at work this morning. I always get there a little bit early. And I was told by a coworker that he was gone, man. And you know, I came to work with this really, you know, like, it's Friday, you know, it's my Friday, I work 410s, and I got this bomb dropped on me, and it was just like it just would not leave all day. And I just saw him yesterday, and I just literally just tripped out all day. I was just like, God, just please give me the strength. But you know what? You look at everybody in this room, man, you tell me there ain't strength in numbers. And this rocks. I mean, it was people like James and every individual sitting in this room. They gave me 8.5 years of sobriety and recovery time at this moment. And I'm not saying it's been easy. I've been through, God knows, my trials and tribulations. But my sobriety has given me 2 beautiful daughters who look like their daddy. and got his tenacity. There's many things any one of us could say about James. You know, you look at what you see here. To be able and to be privileged and honored to have worked with him, to know who he is. Him and I had a lot of personal discussions about some hardships I was going through, and he discussed a few of his. And it was really, really cool because you could look at him and you could really tell he was hearing you, but the feedback that he gave you was on a different perspective. It gave you something else different to look at. And for that was cool. That is a gift. And personally, I call it a God shot. And every one of us in this room tonight are God shots. My name is Michael, and I thank you for this time. James, journey well, my friend. Here you go. Sorry about that.
Wow. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Marcy. And I've done a lot of work with James. And it's a great loss. But for those of you that know him, he probably wasn't quite ready to go if I know him as well as I think I do. He was probably thinking, I got so much more work to do. He always had a project. He always had a plan. And unfortunately, I usually got the phone call for whatever the plan was. Even when I didn't want to, he always reminded me that I was supposed to. James was an absolute soldier of Christ, of recovery, and of community. And I say that because I still have our sober living sign out in the front of my complex that he tried to put 100 of them through the whole complex, and I told him he was allowed one. Like, you can't decorate the apartment complex with signs everywhere, buddy. And I do recall going, oh, come on, Marcy. I was like, I'll give you one. And it still sits in front of the complex. It was a little strange for me today to get up to go to work and see the truck in my parking lot and not hear the spitfire, backfire, screaming loud. I cuss at it every morning, goodbye, James. Because that's what me and my husband would do every morning. We would know James was on his way to work because we could hear the backfire, the Pathfinder, all the way down the road. And it was like a salute, and it was kind of strange not to do that this morning. What I think I want to share with all of you the most is I really loved that man. He's the only man that's been in my life for 5 years consistently that I haven't married or slept with.
Thanks for sharing.
I just thought you should know that. Wasn't that I didn't try, though. I think I had a crush on everybody until I started getting well, but James was the first, bald-headed, tattooed, just got out of prison. I thought, oh my gosh, there he is. And then unfortunately he spoke, and so the laughter that I'm sharing with you is the laughter that he would like for you to continue to share with those around you. I have no idea where that came from. Thanks, buddy. How many people in here have been through Men of Courage? Can you guys stand up? Men of Courage? Stand up. Be seen. And how many ladies in here have been through the Women of Courage? Those groups were started by that man. Those groups taught us to be better men and women in Christ. And if it wasn't for that man taking the courage to say, I read this book and I want to share this book with other men, and then convincing me to help him share it with other women, because you know how James is, men with men, women with women, we wouldn't be where we're at. So if you remember anything from that book and anything that that man stood for, you'll branch out and you'll start a Men of Courage group. And you'll start another Women of Courage group. And you'll continue to carry on his recovery meetings. Because if we don't do that, then shame on us. How many of us in here came to know Christ, came to recovery, are still struggling in recovery, and are in this room tonight only because of the love and the pestering of James Grubbs that you can do this? So remember, I'm trying really hard to do this without breaking. What I want you to remember is, as sad as you are right now, as heartbroken as you are right now at this moment, you should be filled with joy and glee for the fact that that was a man who asked for forgiveness, found his God, and through him got to go home in peace with no more pain and no more fines, I might say. That I'm sure he's grateful for. Stay after when this is done and talk to somebody. Share a memory, share a tear, share a joke. But in remembrance of James, do not take a drink. Don't take a drug. Quit going to prison. Reach out and save somebody's life just like he did yours. Thank you.
I typically don't do public speaking, but I feel overwhelmed with emotion, so I have to. But James was my best friend for 10 years. I knew him outside of recovery. And I honestly don't know what I'm going to do now. He was the one person that I knew I could call if there was a spider that I couldn't get and I was scared of. I'd call and he'd come over. He took my kids to church for the first time. He just picked up my kids from daycare all last week. I don't know what I'm going to do when I don't have anybody else to call, because I knew he'd always be there. It's really confusing, but this is great. I mean, standing room. I don't know. I love him, though. I know that.
Hi, my name is Kelsey, and I'm a recovering alcoholic. It's like a meeting, but way bigger. So I started my first day at Church and Dwight with James in my orientation, and he was this bald Jesus freak dude, and I was like, who the hell are you? Like, he just automatically rubbed me the wrong way, and I was like, I don't like you. But I was at the time taking public transportation, and he pulled over one day and said, hey, do you want to ride home? I live near you. And from that moment, our friendship started. And, you know, he was one of the first people in my company I told I was an alcoholic. And from that point on, he started talking about the rooms and how I should come back. And I didn't listen for a really long time until just recently. I came back and I met all of you, and he went from being a coworker to like family, and I saw him every day. I remember, you know, even before I went into the rooms, I remember I would start getting upset at work, and I would get angry, and I'd be like, I need to talk to somebody, where's James? And I'd call his extension, and I'd be like, I'm coming over, I'm pissed. And he would listen to me, and he understood me, and he was there for me every day. I saw him every day. And he, you know, I took a minute to write on my candle some of the things he used to say to me, because it meant so much. And, you know, he said things like, if you want some, come get some. We all heard that. Love your face. Play that tape out. How's that working out for you? That was a big one. Let's see. Let me co-sign that bullshit for you. Be of service. You get what you put in. I didn't know if you knew this, but I'm kind of a big deal in recovery. And the most important one he ever said to me was, "You are needed, you are wanted, and you are loved." And I don't know how I'm going to go back to work tomorrow. I have no idea. But I thank God that he came into my life, because not only did he make work so much better, but he introduced me to all of you. And I don't know where I would be without him, and I bet all of you can say that. So I love all of you. Thank you so much for being such a big part of my life, and I will miss you, James, so much. Thanks.
Hi, my name is James, and I've been an addict and a convict and all that stuff. But you know what? I'm the son of a king, and that dude right there was my brother. You know what I mean? And he's with our dad now, and I know that. You know, I've had other friends die, and you know, there's that. I don't know where they were with the Lord, you know, and you know, I had a friend that got murdered about a year ago, and I love that dude dearly. And you know what? I don't know where he's at right now, but I know where he is, you know. And you know, there's a scripture that says, "As it is written, eye hath not seen nor ear heard, neither have entered in the heart of man the things which God hath prepared for them that love him." And that dude loved Jesus. So I know that he's seeing things right now that we can't even imagine. Our puny little minds can't even conceive of the joy and the splendor and the brilliance and the glory that he's experiencing right now. And you know, I mean, you know, I don't even know, you know, what the psycho labels for it is. You got denial, and then you got freaking anger, or whatever it is, and then you got dealing with it, or whatever it's called. You know, and you know, it didn't hit me until I was sitting here looking at, you know what I mean? Because I mean, like last night, it was like, he's always trying to get me to go to this meeting. All right? Don't get me wrong. Now, I do some meetings, you know. I do at least two meetings every week. Men's Step Study and the Men's How. I'm the treasurer for both. I have service positions. Wednesday nights, Fruit Valley, come get some of that if you're a man, you know. That's what I do. And so, you know, if it would have been any other night but Wednesday night, I'd have been there because James asked me to come. You know, James and I had the same sponsor when he got out of prison. His sponsor went and picked him up from prison. I was an assistant house manager next door at the Giving Hope house over here, Living Hope's house. And James was picked up from Larch Mountain and driven to my house and dropped off with me. And then Kent's in here somewhere, who was, he was my great-grand-sponsor at the time. He came over and picked James up and took him over and dropped him off at Donnie's. So on the first day, James got passed around the fellas. You know what I mean? And I think Ken's whole reasoning behind that was because he wanted James to see, hey, check it out. These guys are living the dream. These guys are doing the deal. I want you to get a little bit from each one of these guys and see what's possible. You know what? And over the years, you know, I might have forgotten about that, or, you know, it might have, you know, not been in the forefront of my mind. But whenever I hear James speak, whenever James gave his message of, you know, of experience, strength, and hope, he told that story. He told a story about getting picked up from prison and taken over to this man's house and dropped off, you know what I mean? And he'd tell the story every time. And, you know, I'm really proud to be able to... Is this thing even on? Yeah. Like I need it, right? So, you know, I'm really proud to say this is my brother. And, you know, I just want to say something else that, you know, whenever something goes down in recovery, like we were just here for Tony Perkins, right? And this room was packed like this. But I'd just like to point out, you know, and Tony and John and, you know, Patrick worked there too. But, you know, I think I was the first out of the community, I mean, out of Oxford and out of recovery that went to work for NNP. But I'm going to tell you right now, I'm a department trainer, and I know everybody in the company. And there's about 30 people in here right now that work for Church and Dwight. You know what I mean? When Ashley was up here talking, she wasn't kidding. No, it was somebody else. It was Mike. Mike said, you know, there's some people up in here that like to make gummy bears. You know what? I got to say this, you know. James used to call me and IM me all the time and ask me stuff. You know, he was always hitting me up. And I move back and forth between sites because I do training down on campus. I work in Ridgefield, but I'm downtown all the time. And I always go to see James. And yesterday, I had to do some training down there, and I was going to run over and talk to him, and I didn't. I saw him the day before, but I didn't see him that day. And then, you know, I went to my home group, and I was at my home group, and we had a bunch of the fellas there on their bikes and stuff, and they were kind of running in and out of the meeting, and I was kind of like, why don't you guys sit down? And then I realized when we circled up a few minutes later why they were running in and out of the meeting is because somebody had gotten word that James had just got hit. And so they bailed out of the meeting. And, you know, as soon as my homeboy told me, man, you heard what happened, right? Me and Damon jumped in my car and tore up to the Exchange Center, you know. And it just, you know, someone else was saying it. Mike said, you know, he got a bomb dropped on him today. You know, I get lost in my work, you know, and I'm a pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I got joy all the time, you know what I mean? And I've laughed today, and I've done my thing, and I've lost, and I've forgotten about it, but it always came back. Boom. Boom. Man, James, where's James? You know what I mean? You know, all I can say is that I'm a better man for knowing this guy. One thing I'd like to say, too, about James is, you know what? I don't care who you are or who you thought you were. James would pull your whole card, right? James, you know, that stuff when they're talking about, well, how's that working out for you or whatever. But he had something else, too. He had a way, I don't know, he just did it with me. We'd go feed the homeless. We'd go do different stuff. And but he had this way of kind of pushing your button, that one button that he knew you had that nobody else knew, and he'd kind of get at you like that, you know what I mean? But you know what? I know one thing, you know, I don't know if I ever have the money to put a nice system in my car, who I'm going to get to do it, because James would do it for free because he liked doing it. And I know there's some people that got some good sounds in here because James and his love for doing that stuff. Anyway, I'm really glad you guys all came out here. I love all of you, even the ones of you that I don't know, and I'm going to miss him.
I don't really like talking in front of crowds, and this one's big. But I know James would tell me to go ahead and go anyway, and so he sent Tina to join me. I believe it was Tina who introduced me to James about 9 years ago. And, you know, obviously we were running and gunning back then. But although my place at first was a place to party and stuff, he ended up being like an uncle to my kids, because I was a single mom and I was struggling. And, you know, we partied, we did crazy things, but he always looked out for my kids, and he ended up living with me for a while. And we parted ways for a couple years, and then I decided to get clean. I came to the rooms and I found James again. And it was cool because he could mentor me, and he was, I mean, to know him where he came from, the running and the gunning, and then to see him in recovery, I mean, that was just a miracle to see right then, you know. He was such a bright light, you know. He was on fire. He was recovery, you know, and he's just on fire for life, and he shared that with everyone. He lived life to the fullest, and he loved everybody. He touched every life that came in contact with his. And he was more than a friend. He was like a brother, you know. I think many of us can recognize him as family. You know, he's so much more than just a friend. Sorry, I'm real nervous being up here. Anyway, I'm glad that I got to see the light that he became to so many, and that I got to see the miracle that he was, because he was a miracle.
My name's Tina Coddington. I got a few familiar faces in here. I didn't spend a lot of time in the recovery rooms and stuff, but I have spent a lot of time with James. for many years. That we were friends for about 12 years, and I've seen him through 4 incarcerations, writing for him, being his power of attorney, taking care of all of his whatevers and what have yous and whatnots. Well, one of my favorite things about James is that he always, like her, he became like an uncle to my kids, and he would come over and my daughter would be struggling with some grades at school, and he would come in and he'd be like, you know what, come on, you can do this, you're better than that, you can do this. And he set up her own little workstation, or her little desk, and if you all know James and have had any letters from him or anything, you know how perfectly, beautifully girly his handwriting is. And so, Tasha, if you have anything that has his handwriting on it, please let me have some. Okay, so in this beautiful, gorgeous, girly handwriting, he makes this sign above her little desk that says Nessa's workstation. And it says, "Go, Nessa." And it stayed up there for 3 years. We just took it down recently, and now I regret ever taking it down. But my favorite saying, he just mentioned it, whoever was just up here before us mentioned how he says, "What, you didn't know? I'm pretty much the big deal around here."
Or just saying.
Or just saying. Yeah, just saying. And he always seemed to know when it was time to eat at my house. No joke. That boy knew when it was time to eat. And he'd show up at my house and be like, "Girl, man, this is because of you." I'm like, "No, this is because of you." You know, and the boy, telling you, we've been through a lot. And a lot of times he hung out at my house. I might have seemed like the mistress to the girlfriends, but really I wasn't the mistress. All that ever really happened is he came to my house, used my internet when his was down, and Facebook stalked y'all. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Anyways, I just want you guys all to know that I couldn't believe I did very well today. I was keeping myself busy, but when I showed up here and saw just how many people were here, and just how many people really loved James, and how many people he touched, it's so amazing, and I can't even believe it. Like, talking to his mom on the phone the other day, she is just as overwhelmed. Like, she is in complete disbelief that her son had this many people who really care about her, about him, and that he touched so many people's lives, and how big of a difference he made. And I'm truly grateful to see all of you here, and James, I love you wherever you are.
Hey, Tina, thank you for bringing James into my life.
Good evening. My name is Bill. When I was here a couple weeks ago, Vicki texted me and said, "Be done by 7:15, so we've got a little while to go." But James was my roommate for about 2 years. I met James about 3 years ago. And yesterday I was headed to the meeting, and PB gives me a call and says, "Hey, where you at, bud?" I said, "Well, I'm on my way to the meeting." He says, "Well, you haven't heard, have you?" And I said, "Heard what?" He said, "James passed." And I didn't know what to say, which to a lot of you was going to be a shock that I didn't know what to say. But I pulled up on Highway 99 there at the 7-Eleven, and I said, "Did this happen on Highway 99? And he said, "Yes." I said, "I'm getting ready to pull up on it." And it was just so surreal until I woke up this morning in what used to be his room, my garage. And you know, as you've all heard and you all know, he was so many things besides James Grubbs. He was just James. He was Recovery 360. He was Get Some. But I've already heard it say, what he was a child of God. And he's with him today. And in my morning meditation, it talked about grieving and the process and all of that. And I was talking with the guy last night, and he says, it really sucks. And I lost another roommate in recovery several years ago, and it sucked. And I've heard people say that oh, it'll get better, it'll get better. But in recovery, it doesn't necessarily get better, but it does get different. And we've already heard that James spoke from the heart. And so after 2 years of living with him, what he would tell me to do, and I think what he would tell each and every one of you to do, is it's okay for it to suck, but we no longer have to live there. He would tell us to pull ourselves up by the bootstraps, get to a meeting, drag somebody in here to church, get them saved, and get out there and help the next suffering alcoholic and do it all over again. That's what James told me to do, is just suit up and show up when I didn't feel like it. Just suit up and show up. And I don't know how many times I didn't feel like suiting up and showing up, and I got to just knock on the door in the garage and go out there, and we had a meeting. And I was looking through the pictures this morning, and he was holding my granddaughter. And it dawned on me that he was a fill-in papa for me when I was gone. He was a fill-in dad for me. But again, it goes back to what I saw this morning. And I'm no theologian by any stretch, but I'll paraphrase, and it says that God will comfort those who mourn. And I would encourage you to feel free to mourn, but don't isolate. Don't isolate. I heard it said already tonight. I think James said it. Grab somebody after you're done here and share with them. It's okay for it to hurt, but we just can't live here. And like I saw today, don't use this as an excuse. If anything, grab that person that's suffering, and if you're suffering, be able to reach out. James reached out. I know James reached out to a lot of people in this building. It's okay to reach out. Man, woman, or child, if you're suffering, reach out. And I just want to close with this. If you don't know Christ, I would encourage you to get with somebody and start that perfect relationship with him tonight. Because the last thing you want to go through is for him to say, I don't know you. And there's no doubt in my mind that what James experienced was well done, good and faithful servant. Well done. Thank you.
My name's Stephan. I'm a convict, addict. And what I want to say about James is I didn't know him for 10, 15, 20 years. I don't have a bunch of stories to make you laugh. What I have is the truth. In the time of my life when I met James, there was two people that were focal points in my recovery. One was Jordan Monday, and two was James Grubbs. I was at a very, very vulnerable state at the time. I was humble. I wanted to change. He seen that in me, and he took me aside. James was one thing. He was just James. He didn't care where you came from, who you were, how much time you did, what drug you did, what you did on the street. He was a convict. He became convicted in Christ, and he brought me into the Living Hope Church for the first time. I've got a few memories of James that I'll take with me. He's going to be sorely missed. I'm sorry for his loss, for his mother, his sisters, his whoever's in his family. I didn't know them all. His girlfriend. What I do know about James is he don't want us to sit here and crying over this. He wants us to rejoice in what he did for people in life. Bottom line, man, he was a convict at one time, like a lot of us. He's from the streets, like a lot of us. He didn't care what you wore, like I said. He didn't care what you came with. He cared what was in your heart. And if he seen it was real, he'd work on it. I got to go to the panel with him a couple times, and I was a part of the Men of Courage with Bill, Brandon, him, Joey Wild. I left. I regret that. But what I did learn was that there is hope. If just James can do it, ex-convict, ex-dopehead, ex-carjacker, anybody can do it. I can do it. Spent half my life behind bars. You know what? I'm here. Legit job, clean and sober. and I'm going to stay that way, God willing. Thank you.
I'm Ken. I'm an alcoholic. I'm blessed to know James too. I look around and, the 12-step program is like the biggest pyramid scheme in the whole universe. One guy helps one guy, another guy helps another, and then, it's just a big Ponzi scheme. And it's awesome to see that he's affected this many people. You never know who's gonna get it and what's gonna happen. There's like 3 things I definitely want to say about James is I've worked with a few guys over the years, and I've never said you're entitled to your own pain and suffering as much as I ever did with him. I said I've said if it's not an unreasonable request, you got to do it. Don't be a pussy. And he's taken that, and I believe that he's been accountable for that. He asked me to speak at the Men of Courage, and they had these little pieces of paper I thought was, I don't even know exactly what I thought, but I pulled out this thing, and I look at it 5 to 10 times a week. I got it still hanging up. It's Men of Courage. They're scared, but they go ahead and do the right thing anyways, and that is something that's always going to stick with me. From him, we all know he's in a better place. It's awesome to believe in God and know that he does. We all think that that he was taken too soon, that he still had work here to do, but really it's just more work for us to do. You know what I mean? God said it's his time. And he ain't got no more court fines. That's awesome. Anyways, there's a lot more work for us to do. We're going to have to pick up the slack. God bless you all.
My name is Bobby. What's on? Okay. My name is Bobby, and I'm a part of this recovery in this program. When I was in Lifeline, and he came with the 360, those were the kind of people that I wanted to be around. I pointed it, I said, James was the person I was going to have in my life, no matter what. Because he was strong. He was people that I wanted. I wanted this just as bad as he did. He brought me in real quick. He said, come to a meeting if you want to get to know me. And I want to get to know you too. And one thing that stuck to me when I came to church, Pastor Bill said, no matter where we've laid our beds, God has always been with us. He's always wanted us to speak with him, talk to him. And now, if you ever want to just take that, if you ever think about taking that drink, if you ever think about taking your life, taking anything that's going to harm you, just know that he's right next to you, and he wants you to speak with him. He wants you to talk to him. And that's what I'm going to be doing, because I know he's always going to be here with me. The resentments I've had with people that I've lost, they've always been here with me. I've never left. And he's touched me a lot. Just within a little time that I got to know him, I mean, he taught me that, life is too short, Enjoy it. You don't have to be loaded anymore. Just enjoy it with people that truly care about you. He was there with me every single time. He wanted me to be in his life. He brought me in even when I didn't speak to him very much. And he touched me every single day. I haven't met somebody else on Facebook more than I am, that's for sure. So we went back and forth all the time with words and wisdom. And so getting to know him is such a blessing. And getting to know a lot of people in this program has saved my life. And I love you guys very much, and thank you very much for being here for me.
Hi, my name's Patrick. I've known James a lot of years. All I have to say about him is he was a guiding light to a lot of us. I mean, a light at the end of the tunnel. I mean, I just got out of prison 4 months ago. I fell off, and the first thing he said to me was, "You ready to get some now?" And I was like, "Yep. You know, I'm done." And he said, "Good." You know, and he would always show up to the meetings I went to, always had a kind thing to say about everybody. I mean, the guy was just phenomenal. And I know right now that man's flying with the angels. He is definitely going to watch out for each and every one of you, man, because that's what he does, and that's what he'll always do. I love that man. I was just with him last Friday. I found out when I left my treatment the other night, and I about hit my knees, man. I just couldn't believe it. It's going to be a definite, just horrific loss, but like I said, he's going to be here to watch out for all of us, man. And, you know, I just know that that man's going to be one hell of an angel up there watching out, man, just every day, making sure we're doing what's right. Thank you.
We're going to cut it off right after these three because we're going to do some candle lighting. So we're going to have a great opportunity on 7/11 to just do an amazing service, and we want to invite all you back. But you guys go ahead.
Thank you. Wow, this is beautiful to look out here and to see everybody's eyes and to see everybody come together for something so special. Just James would be blown away. Normally, I would go with James to a function like this. You know, he would come swoop me up and suit up and show up and come out here. I had so much to say. I didn't want to cry, but so in 2010, I got sober, and I thought AA was for a bunch of people that, for old people or weak people. I'm looking at Bill. I'm sorry, Bill. I just love you. But James swooped me up, and James loved me. I didn't really know how to love somebody because I had been a drug addict. James encouraged me to be strong when I was weak. He loved me until I could love myself. James loved every one of you, and he would be so blown away right now if he was standing here. I know he's looking down on all of us and just so proud because he worked really hard. You know, there wasn't a day that went by that he wasn't thinking about how he could make somebody else's life better. You know, he loved people, and I didn't understand why he loved them. But he just kept loving them. He just kept loving them, and that, you know, that means I should love him. And James was a unique individual. He's a once-in-a-lifetime kind of guy, and I'm so proud that the day I got out of rehab in 2010, he found me somehow. You know, it was a gift from God, and he just pulled me along and encouraged me, and he installed a belief in me and a perspective on the world that allows me to hopefully be encouraging to the people around me and to do God's work. And if nothing else, you know, I think leaving here tonight, the number one thing I learned from James would be how to be a better friend. And it's important that, you know, the road of love is not texted, but it goes both ways, and it takes time. And for me, you know, I want to invest more time in the things I value and that I appreciate. And I know James loves every one of us, and damn it, but thank you for the time that we had. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vanessa. All I gotta say is, wow, he made a huge impact. Never did I see this coming. He was my uncle, not by blood, but in my heart. That man made a huge impact. I met him in 2004. Lost contact with him, my mom, a whole bunch of people because of my dad. But when I got back, he always encouraged me, just keep going. Just keep going. I was failing my grades all the time. When he wrote me that sign, you're better than that. You can do it. Not did I get my grades up right away, but sure enough, I tried. I tried. Everybody keeps saying these quotes. I remember he called everybody else on their bullshit. But when he came over to my house, my mom always called him on his bullshit. Every time he come over, he always sit next to me and be like, hey, you there. Always make me laugh. Man, I love that man so much. And I pray to God, all you recovery people keep his word. Because he worked hard, and I'm not going to be selfish and sit here and say it wasn't his time. Because you know what? He worked so hard down here. He worked hard for God. He was an angel, and now God needed his angel up there for him. I love you, James.
Hello? Make sure it works. I haven't used one of these in a while. I don't have anything really life-changing to say, but I felt motivated to come up here. At my IOP this afternoon, that was what we talked about. We talked about James, and it was amazing the impact that guy had. I didn't grow up in my recovery with him. First time I ever met him was at panel at Lifeline, and he impressed me then. And I started going to the AA meetings at the Exchange, and again, even if you didn't see him, you could feel him in the room. I mean, he had a presence. And the thing that I told the group today, like I said, I'm not a counselor, I'm not a theologian or nothing like that. I just said, let's show him respect by continuing our recovery, by continuing our sobriety in honor of him, and let's celebrate his life and what he did. Yeah, I'm just as sad, and like I said, I didn't have the connection that a lot of you people had, but just keep him always in your heart, and let's not forget what he did.
Josh? We got just a couple more, and then we're going to close.
It's kind of weird talking with a microphone. I can't tell you what James has done for me. When I came into recovery the first time, he has given me He gave me the courage to actually speak out about my faith or the faith that we shared. He gave me the courage to go into treatment centers and stay with confidence that I believe in Jesus Christ. I watched him in everything that he did. And it's kind of strange because I felt at times jealous because of the life or the lives that he has touched. And as I thought about it, I was thinking, that's what I want. I mean, I look out over everybody and I'm like, this man that was my sponsor left all of you as a legacy. I hope and pray to God that I can touch a quarter of what he touched, the lives that he touched. You know, it was really rough for me, and I'm still trying to really wrap my head around it. But I had some resentments towards James. And I was talking to Josh about it, and he had told me, why don't you talk to him about it? And I never did. And now I sit here with some regret, resentments with myself. And so I guess my message is, or what I want to say is, don't wait. Don't wait until you don't have a chance to clear the air, to talk to somebody about your resentments or whatever. Because I'll tell you, James we would have talked it out and it would have been just fine. Actually, we probably would have grown from it. James was such an amazing man, I can't tell you that. I mean, he has helped me so much and given me so much courage to reach out and help people. The fears that I battle today are things that he has the courage to do every day. And so for me, I will always, always hold him dear to my heart because he led by example. He suited up and showed up. And you know what? He really rocked this place. And so I hope that I can be half the man that guy was.
Hi, I'm Josh. I'm also not accustomed to speaking into a microphone, so it's a little nerve-wracking. Well, a podium doesn't have a microphone. James Grubbs was by far one of the most amazing people that ever came into my life. When I met him, I was lost and broken, and I was scared. And the first thing that he said to me that I'll never forget, I was asking him if he knew anybody that would sponsor me, that he thought would be a good fit for me. And I told him that I knew that he was busy and that he didn't have a lot of time. And I could tell he was smiling when he said it, but he asked me why I thought he wouldn't have time for me. And I can't even tell you how much that meant. So a relationship that just started as someone who was supposed to be my sponsor became someone who was my best friend. He gave me a life that I could be proud of. Nothing that I had done or anything that I was doing was anything that makes up a life worth living. And James gave me a program and principles. He helped me find my faith in God again. I called James every day, every single day, all day long. He'd make time for me on his lunch breaks. He used to come over to my house on his lunch breaks when I lived in town. I know that everybody in here has been affected or touched by James. I can personally say that he saved my life. The things that I do today are blessings and gifts that he gave to me. He showed me what the miracle of this program is. Oh, I'm sorry. Loving people when they don't love themselves, and giving them strength and hope, and showing them that no matter how broken you are or where you come from, that you can not only change your life, but you can make a life that inspires other people. That's a miracle. I get to wear this shirt with pride because it's not just a meeting. It's something that one of my best friends brought me into. I'm sorry. I was with James right before all this happened. And, you know, I can't even remember who said it at this point, but lose your petty differences. Love people. Don't be afraid to tell someone how you feel. Realize that everything that goes on is a gift from God. The love that you feel today, the things that you share with people. Everybody around you is a blessing. And the saddest part about that is that you might not realize it until they're gone. So just don't wait for that. Be thankful. I'm done. I just thank you all so much for being here.
What we're going to do is we're going to try and help with the expenses of, you know, this was an unexpected deal, so there's going to be some expenses involved, and so we're going to take up a collection tonight, and that'll all go for the proceeds of helping with the burial expenses and everything that goes on with that. So if you feel directed to give, we're going to close in prayer. Is Pastor Gary Holdy still here? Come on up, Pastor. Pastor Gary was real instrumental in James's life for a lot of years, and I appreciate your heart, brother. And would you just surround us tonight with prayer and just ask God to bless us?
Sure will. Let's pray. Father, we thank you for the opportunity to gather to remember a great man. But God, it's not enough to remember. We need to follow in his footsteps. It's been said tonight that we need to honor with our recovery by continuing with our recovery. And I pray, God, that that is true for all. I know that many struggle with things that I can't even imagine, but all of us have one thing in common. We were created to be light to a world that's filled with darkness. And we lost a bright light this week. So each and every one of us needs to turn our light up just a little bit to make up the difference. I pray that you would wrap your arms around each and every one, that you would speak into their hearts that they are special, that they are amazing, that they're a masterpiece, that when they look in the mirror and they see a mistake, you see a masterpiece, because you see the beginning, the middle, and the end of our lives. So God, today is a difficult day, but we know that you care so much that you're going to reach out to us even greater and love us even more. And the way you're going to do that is with our hands and our embracing one another. So help us to love one another and to be there even more. Speak to each and every one about their lives and the importance of their lives and the importance to continue on the road that James helped us. And he lit the path for us, God. So let it never go out. Let his light shine forever. We thank you for the opportunity to know him and the opportunity to know you. And we embrace that tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
So what we're going to do is we're going to, did they already did the offering thing? This is a really cool thing. What we're going to do right now is we're going to turn the lights down a little bit lower. And what I want to do is I want to start over here on this side, and I want the first person to just stand with your light and then go by row. And I just want you to look at what happens when one person's light touches another person, and then it just fills this room. So let's just do that right now, and you have some music for us.
Your power and grace, your power and grace. I can make it to the end if I could just see your face. Moses stood on the mountain, waiting for you to pass by. And with your hand over his face, so in your presence he would die. All of Israel saw the glory, and it shines down through the age. Now you called me to boldly seek your face. Show me your face, Lord. Show me your face. And gird up my legs that I might stand in this holy place. Show me your face, Lord. Your power and grace, your power and grace. I could make it to the end if I could just see your face. Show me your face, Lord. Show me your face. And gird up my legs that I might stand in this holy place. Show me your face, Lord. Your power and grace, your power and grace. I can make it to the end if I could just see your face. I can make it to the end if I could just see your face.
Well, this concludes tonight, and you guys, you want to hear something really, really interesting? I had no idea. We stopped the tape quite a while ago, playing just random music, and I had no idea what song was going to come on. And was that just not amazingly fitting for this time? So, guys, stick around. There's some candles up here we're gonna light that Tasha and Stacy put together, and we're gonna light those real quick. And then there is some coffee here. I know you guys can drink coffee and go to bed, so that's not an issue. And then, would you just love on somebody? And then, Jeff, you had an announcement while we light these candles.
My name is Jeff Talbot, and James was my business partner in Get Some Recovery. August 14th, 2012, James came to me with a vision of starting a company called Get Some Recovery to help bring awareness to our recovery community and also try to raise money together to get people into assisted living homes. And as you can see, everybody with a Get Some Recovery shirt or a 360 recovery shirt, raise your hands, guys. Look how many people out here he's affected already that know and support what his cause was. I had talked to Tasha, and I have a recovery cafe, coffee shop, and for all the sales that we're doing from today until Sunday, I'm donating $1 for each sale. And I am donating up to $1,000. If you guys can get that up to match, I will match that. We need to get money together so we can help out their family and his daughter. This is where our community comes together. No matter what discretions that we've had, I've had a lot with James, and I am ashamed for some of the things I have said, and I have asked for forgiveness, and James in his gracious hearts has forgiven me on this. So we come together, and let's get this done for his family, and let's continue his legacy. This is what James would like. Love you all the best I can. Thank you.
I don't know what to say. So I made these candles, and don't feel bad if I didn't make you one. I love every one of you. There's these, okay? It took me a minute, but just, you know, like his best friends and ones that I know personally when we talked that he held really close to him. So that's what we're going to do. I love him. All right, so, hello? Okay. I chose this picture because it's Bill and Vicky and Mr. Grubbs. It's one of my favorite ones of them that I have in his little collage. This one is of us at his work party last year. We were both pretty happy right then. Stacy loved this one. This one I think it's up on the banner over here, but it's her favorite picture of him, so we chose this one for her. And then this is just a kooky face of James and Josh. They always were notorious for that, so it reminds me of them.
Thanks again, guys, and hang out as long as you want. And like I say, I think there's some coffee around here somewhere, and stay tuned for the 11th, and keep doing what James did.